what I'm doing here is installing a balcony roof. So this roof here and this roof behind the camera, I hate to swing over here because I'm not very good at holding my phone like this. Anyway, this valley is going to drop snow down there a long ways, and we have a sliding glass door down there, and I don't like the idea of dropping all that snow 40 feet and then having it hit a deck and hit the sliding glass door. So I've designed a balcony here which will fill this kind of space down below me, and I need to build a different roof pitch, I think starting here and coming out a lot more shallow and meeting up with the end of this ladder here. So that's what I'm doing. This is kind of hard to video while I'm working, but first step is cutting the plywood back. I want to make enough of a gap here so that I can fit 2x6s. And I'm going to use 2x6s as the rafters. Run the 2x6s out to the end of that ladder rack there, and then whatever that angle ends up being from the top of this wall to that point there is going to be the roof pitch, and it's going to be pretty shallow. And then I've got to figure out how to make this angle work out. I think I just have to snap a line from this point. See where I have to cut here. If I snap a line from that point to the ladder, that should be the angle, and then I got to sheathe it, and then I got to build the eave subfascia and all that, which is what I'm actually kind of going around the building and building. So these tails here, when I built this roof, I left them really long with the plan of just cutting them off. Now these are the ends of 2x8s, and although they step down to 2x4s, there's still quite a bit of strength left in these. And so I think what I may do is bring the 2x6 wall out, but then tie it into the end of these tails for additional strength. I'm also bringing the 2x6s back, quite a ways, and so I've got cantilever strength, and then I also have the strength of these, and I may even triangulate back to the face of the wall. This roof is going to be pretty strong. I'm trying to plan for the eventuality that snow doesn't slide off and it sits here, and that's got to be a really strong roof. So I'm going to keep cooking and see how it goes. All right, you got to check this out. So I've got all these rafters over here, right? And I'm trying to build a roof that goes out at a little shallower angle. And I need to meet up with this corner of plywood right there. And I've got to figure out, basically make a template, figure out what the heck shape, size, length, and then where it goes in space. So I've got a 2x6 in place, and let me just show you. It took me about 20 minutes to figure out how the heck I was going to do this. So I worked off of what I know, and I know that the plywood that goes on top of this, the sheathing, needs to meet up flush with this sheathing. So I knew that this point wouldn't change, right? That's a constant. So I put a screw in here. You'll just have to believe me. I put a screw in here so that the whole board pivoted off that point. Okay, so I got that, and then I needed to figure out where the other end of this, not only where to cut it, but where the other end needed to be in order to meet up with this, so that that roof plane was level. So the second thing I knew was that I needed it to be level. So I grabbed my level and I set it, I don't know if you can see that, underneath that sheathing right there. This is really hard to video. So I set it underneath the sheathing, and then I had to, hang on. And then I had to, so I have it under the sheathing on this side, right? I don't know if you can see this. Under the sheathing on this side, and I can't be on top of the board. I need to be like so. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so the top of the level has to be flush with the top of the 2x6. Okay, where, right? So out there, up here, there's a very specific point where that needs to be true. And so I squared the level off of the end of this piece of plywood to find out where the point was, drew a line, and then, set the level underneath and leveled it to the top of the board. Okay, well, how do I do that? How do I hold that level out there? And because it's on the underneath, so I can't set it on top, and then adjust the 2x6 and then actually put it in position. So what I ended up doing was I put a screw in here on this 2x4 to create a pivot point for the 2x4. That let me take this 2x4, this end of the 2x4, and slide it up and down, which changes the angle of this. So if I slide it up, it brings the 2x6 up. If I slide it down, it brings it back down. And so I believe, and so then I tacked it with a screw there. I believe I have it in position. So now I can actually measure to find out how long they need to be. I've got to make a template and cut out a 2x4, basically eave profile, and then notch it back, and then make all of them, and then bring them up, and then figure out how to get them all in the right spot. I'll probably just level as I go along and make sure they're all level that way. I suppose I could have mounted a block under here, but to set the level on and then set it on top, but that would be hard because it's at an angle. So anyway, I just wanted to show you what's going on. So the basic idea here is that I'm just making a roof out over this area to get the snow out and away from the building. My plan with these rafter tails here is I'm gonna face nail a 2x8 that will rest on the bottom of this 2x6, and it'll basically create a cantilever point from here, and it'll only have 16 inches of cantilever instead of a cantilever point back at the house where I have 4 feet of cantilever. So this also lets me support this 2x8 out on the end back to the wall with some sort of bracket. That's the plan for now anyway. I'm not sure how that'll look underneath. It might look weird. So I might box it in, but I'll have to see how that feels. Because if I make a balcony with a ceiling like this, that's kind of lame. So yeah, so that's what's going on. So I thought I'd show you real quick how I built this raftery thing last fall. So, right, I'm double wall construction. I've got these rafters here, collar ties. My interior wall is load bearing, and so that's all I had built in the fall, and that's all I could set the roof on, except obviously the roof rafters need to go all the way out to the outside wall. And so you see the rafter doesn't even sit on this inside wall. And so I needed a way to make sure that I didn't have a roof sitting on fasteners, because I don't build like that. I can't stand it. I want wood sitting on wood, all the way down to the foundation. I'm like covered in sawdust. So what I did is I put this 2x4 in here, and I wedged it in, nailed it in, and that makes that top rafter sit on top of the 2x4, sit on top of the collar tie. And that's how I solved it. And the rafters hung out, and they were fine. Well, I have to remove this 2x4 in order to sister 2x6s onto this rafter here for my porch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make little wedges that go in here to put the weight on the inside wall. That also, I don't like this for one reason, in that it puts the weight of the roof down, 10 or 8 inches inbound of the wall, which could potentially make this 2x6 sag. It doesn't look like it's having any problems, but it will be nice to get the weight of the roof directly onto the wall coming out of the rafter, and not on the collar ties, because that's not their actual purpose. So, yeah, I'm gonna take this out, cut the nails. I'm gonna make little wedges, and then I'm gonna install some uprights here, which I can nail the 2x6 coming in for my cantilevered 2x6 roofy thing. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm talking about, right there. Okay, so I got vertical studs, basically. I don't know, I've got some vertical, it's hard to describe, but anyway, that's what it looks like. I've got all my wedges in here so that the rafter is sitting on the wedge on the load-bearing wall, and it's not relying on any fasteners. And then the uprights, you'll see what those are for in a minute. So earlier when I was up at the roof line, I made this as a template. I've got all my marks on it. Now that I'm down here with the lumber, I'm setting the template on it, drawing my line, and cutting it out. And then I'll bring them all up at once. All right, so 7:30, and I got the balcony roof almost done. So I'm at the last stage. I've poked myself up through this little hole in the roof, and I have to cut this angle piece, and then it's done. Let me switch the camera around and show you how this thing's built. All right, so what we have going on here is I've notched these so that this eave profile matches the rest of the house. And these 2x6s are 8 feet long, and they protrude into the house, and they get attached to the collar tie and the rafter inside. Now I left the old rafter tails here because they're still able to provide quite a lot of strength. And so what I have in store for this is a 2x8, which will sit underneath here, so the weight will be coming down onto the 2x8, and then it'll be face screwed into those rafter tails. And that will provide quite a lot of strength to this roof. In fact, I mean, it basically means that the roof is only extending past this point, which is only 24 inches, which is a normal rafter eave anyway. So, I may not even need to brace this. Once I get it all attached, I'll be able to tell. But for now, I've got to cut this last piece, and then I should be good to go. So yeah, this project was a little crazy. I've been out here all day long. Like, I started at 6. I actually took the day off today just to do this because it's gonna rain all weekend. So I'm excited the amount of progress I got done today. I did get a bunch of sawdust in my eye, and I could not clear it out, and I had to go down to the eye doctor in order to have them like flip my eyelid in and out, inside out, and take the piece of sawdust out. So now I can actually see again. So anyway, I'm gonna cut this piece of plywood and then wrap this thing up. Thanks for watching.